know what? It's my feed down here.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
We are live. We are live. Happy Winephabet Street Monday. How is everybody today?
You're doing well.
We are. I had some technical difficulty, but we are good to go now. So we are really excited today. Debbie and I have a very special guest today. And Susannah Gold is the brand ambassador for Lugana. And as you know, this month is L, and we were like, yeah, let's get some Lugana wines. Right. So we're going to start with the video and then we'll do the introductions a little bit about each of us afterwards. So here we go. All right. So happy Monday, Deb, Susannah. How are you two today?
We're doing well.
I'm good. Good.
Doing very well.
I love your alphabet song.
Oh, thank you. We started with a different song and we kind of got in just a wee bit of trouble. Apparently Elmo has some copyrights.
So. Got it. Yeah, that's understandable. Well, the ABC song is really fun and close to my heart because my son is in kindergarten, so I'm learning a lot about the ABC song in various ways. So it's fun to have it on a wine show too.
How is that going with
remote schooling?
Like virtual or these days? How is that going?
He does pretty well on remote school. As well as anybody can. We just started a few weeks ago, but I wasn't really sure what to expect. So I'm kind of pleased with how things have been going. So we'll see.
Good. That's a positive.
Taking a wait and see attitude, hopeful that things will get better, and we'll see what happens in January.
All right. So I'm going to start off with. In case you don't know, if this is your first episode, I'm your co-host, Lori, and my husband and I own Draceana Wines in Paso Robles. I also write under the blog and do the podcast under Exploring the Wine Glass. I am WSET Level 2 certified, Someday certified, and I did graduate from UC Davis winemaking. And I am just happy to be here talking to my friends here about wine. So, Deb?
I am Debbie Gioquindo. I'm a certified specialist of wine and a wine location specialist in Port and Champagne. And I own a restaurant in Stone Harbor, New Jersey. And I'm happy to be here. It's a different world that we live in right now, and I'm just rolling with the punches.
Making the best that we can do, and wine helps. And our special guest today is Susannah Gold. So Susannah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get into wine? What's that origin story?
Okay, so I'm Susannah Gold. I got into wine when I was kind of young because my parents drank a lot of wine. My father made wine in the basement with our neighbor who was Sicilian. And they made wine in the basement here in New Jersey. And when I was growing up, my father was a huge Francophile. And so he loved everything about France. And he would take us to France all the time. And everything was better in France. My mom drank a lot of Lancers and Mateus. So, we kind of covered.
I remember that.
And, I was kind of the age in which we drank Riuniti when I was, in high school. So I kind of covered all of that American past in the wine world. And I think when my parents were dating, it was like when Chianti was in a flask, right? On the table, and then the candle in the flask. So all of that was part of my growing up. But I really started studying wine. In college, I lived in Dijon, and I was a French major. But my real study of wine began when I was living in Italy, and I lived there for 15 years. And I was doing another profession, but I was obsessed with traveling around Italy, and I began to study wine as a way to travel around the country. And the rest is history.
As they say. Boy, that's awesome. Living in France, living in Italy, I can deal with that.
So how did you get involved with, we're going to go into Lugana. So how did you get involved with that?
Lugana. So I got involved with Lugana. I have a promotions, marketing, and communications company called Vigneto Communications. And together with a friend, I pitched a Lugana client. I had never heard of Lugana, although I lived in Lombardy for 10 years. Lugana's in Lombardy and the Veneto, but I lived there, and we pitched this client, and she got some bottles of Lugana, and we tasted them, and my mind was blown away by Lugana. And this is around 2009. And I just fell in love with the wines. And then when I would go every year to Vinitaly, because I'm very specialized in Italian wine, I work with other kinds of wine, I write about wine, but I have a real sweet spot and a lot of knowledge about Italian wine. So I go to Vinitaly every year, and I went into the Lombardy Pavilion, and I started tasting through all the Lugana. Then by chance, I met the director of the Lugana Consortium. I was working with a different consortium, and I met the director of the Lugana Consortium. This is around 2013. And he said, next Vinitaly, come and visit, and we'll start, we'll see if we can work together. And so I've been working with Lugana this is my 6th year with Lugana, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, this is my 6th year. And it's really was love at first sight, and it's one of those love affairs that continues. Lugana is a really exciting region.
So tell us about Lugana. I mean, Legarda, tell us, explain to us where it is.
Okay, so Lugana is a region on the southern side of Lake Garda. Lake Garda is the largest lake in northern Italy. The Lugana region in and of itself is kind of straddles 2 Italian regions. One is Lombardy and the other is the Veneto. So think of Lugana as being between Venice and Milan, right? If you kind of have an idea of if you've ever been to Italy and you've ever gone on the train, you will have passed the Lugana region if you took the train or drove from Milan to Venice. So Lugana is a region that straddles the southern side of the lake, and it's a kind of the elevation of the vineyards is not that high. It goes from towards right by the lake is around 50 meters above sea level, and then it goes a little bit inland and gets to like 130 meters above sea level. I should have started out saying that Lugana is a white wine, and it's made with a grape variety that's called Turbiana.
You say it so much better than I can.
Me too.
Well, I would hope
Turbiana. Am I close?
Turbiana. Just kind of flat. I think when people sometimes when they speak Italian think you have to go up and make it, more mellifluous than it always is. Just say it straight. Turbiana. Like one
Turbiana.
Right.
Turbiana.
So Turbiana. Well done. And so Turbiana is their fantasy name for this grape. The grape name is Trebbiano di Lugana, but at the time, it's still this way. A lot of people, when they think of Trebbiano, they think of Trebbiano Toscano, which is not considered to be as high a quality as Trebbiano di Lugana. So they came up with this name to speak about this particular grape variety in this particular terroir. So it's Turbiana is the grape variety. The name of the wine is Lugana. It's a DOC, so that means it's a wine region that has a denomination, and it's a delimited area. So it's the Denominazione d'Origine Controllata. So it's a DOC, so Lugana DOC. That's the name of the wine. The name of the area is Lake Garda, and the grape variety is Turbiana. And it comes in 5 styles. Should I start talking about that? Do you want to?
Yes, please.
How does it? Okay, so
Yes, we
Lugana
need
can
the different
be made-
styles because it meets
Okay.
the different personalities of the grape.
Okay, so Lugana is a wine that you both have had, and it's a beautiful wine for many reasons. But let me take a step back and talk about the 5 styles of the wine. So you can find Lugana that's 5 different styles, and they're all basically 100% Turbiana. They have the option of having a small percentage of other white grape varieties when they make the wine, but most producers now have moved to making just 100% Turbiana. Most of the wine is made in stainless steel in terms of its aging. Its vinification. It's made in stainless steel. Some of it does go through oak, but a very small percentage. So most of Lugana, I would say 90% of Lugana that's made is made into the vintage year. So most of it is made into kind of a fresh white wine that's relatively easy to drink, but I don't mean easy to drink as if it's just quaffable and that's it, because Lugana has a lot of structure for white wine. It's got a lot of body. It has beautiful salinity, really nice acidity and minerality on the palate. I find it also to be very versatile. I invited you guys to a couple of dinners that I held as I was doing kind of different ethnic cuisines to pair them with Lugana, and I remember you both came to one that I had in a Mexican restaurant, and I thought that the wines paired really well with those Mexican dishes. I've also paired Lugana with Indian food, which was Southeast Asian food, actually. It was just fantastic. I've also done it with a Chinese banquet. So I've done Lugana dinners with a lot of different cuisines. Of course, it goes very well with Italian food, too. So 90% is this one, the vintage year. So right now, what's on the market is coming out right now is the 2019. What I'm drinking at home and what you are drinking at home is the 2018, which is the vintage from last year. So that's the 90% of the wine. Then there's Lugana Superiore, which has a little more aging. Then there's a Lugana Riserva, which has further aging in the bottle.
So what is the aging in the bottle on the Reserva?
On the Reserva?
Yes.
On the Reserva, it's 24 months.
Okay.
And the other 2 styles, there's the late harvest, which are late harvest grapes that are picked on the vine, right? And this is a very small percentage. I know only 3 producers who make late harvest. And you guys tried one of the producers, I believe, Marangona. And they're fantastic. Lugana makes really beautiful late harvest wines because the skin of Lugana is kind of thick. So it's the kind of grape that can withstand drying, right? And then the other style, which I think you both have tried as well, are the sparkling wines. So there's a Charmat version and a classical version, so a traditional method where it goes through re-fermentation in the bottle, right? As opposed to the Charmat method, which is in the auto conclave. So I think you guys have tried all of those styles at different points in our time together with Lugana. Am I right?
I think I have tried every version, yeah, and I have not found one that I did not go, oh my God, this is really good. Like it's not even just, like you said, it's not just a quaffable wine. When you sit down and you taste a Lugana across any of those 5 spectrums, there's complexity in these wines, and there's I think I was initially shocked because I was expecting a very light palate wine, and there it's got more body to it than what I had thought it would be in a beautiful way. Way.
It's got a lot of viscosity on the palate and a lot of texture. I think it's kind of like it coats your palate, but in a positive way. It's not oily. but it's a beautiful wine that has weight. It's a wine that, definitely you can have with some heartier foods. I mean, Debbie, you own a restaurant. I don't know
Yeah.
what you might pair Lugana with, apart from the things that we've tried together. I just think Lugana is just so versatile as a wine, and it's
It
great
is
to.
very, I mean, in the samples that I've had, from the sparkling wine to the still wine, I mean, it's, it can go so many different ways to pair with food, from seafood to actually chicken in a special sauce, or I wouldn't say a special sauce, but in a sauce that will really put out the like a white wine sauce, or something like that. It's it really is good.
Well, I'm going to share a pairing I had, Susannah, and I don't know if you're going to. I didn't know about this one, but it was beautiful.
Tell me.
Bacon wrapped dates.
Oh, bacon wrapped dates are so 70s. I love bacon wrapped dates. So funny. That is so funny.
It was so good, so good.
I bet it was great. I mean, I could just imagine that kind of some Lugana has flintiness and smoke that can really pair well with dates, with bacon wrapped dates. Was it covered in like balsamic vinegar too?
It was like a dried balsamic. Like they had the balsamic on it, but then it went in the oven, so it was,
Love it. Oh my God, you're
Yeah.
making me want to ask my mom. Can you go do one of those?
So I'll add to that, and we'll do bacon wrapped monkfish.
That
Oh.
sounds
That would go
great.
well.
That sounds great. When I visited Lugana the first time, I was on a press trip, and they took us to all different kinds of restaurants and to visit many of the producers. And then I want to just mention something about some of the producers. And one of the things that they eat a lot of on Lake Garda, they eat a lot of fish. They have a lot of lake fish, of course, but they also eat a lot of raw fish, like, a lot of carpaccio of one thing, or, raw shrimp. And it's just Lugana just explodes with that kind of raw fish. Fantastic. I mean, amazing with sushi. Lugana does really well in Japan, which I can, of course, see. Right?
Is that what is what they get out of the lake?
Yes. There's a lot of also, Italy is a country that's surrounded by sea, right? Everywhere you go in Italy, there's the sea. But yes, on Lugana, Lake Garda is a lake, and it's Italy's biggest and deepest lake. And yes, the fish comes from the Lake Garda, and they have very specific fish also that are in the lake. There's a lot of trout and other fish that I'm hard pressed to make the translation, but I just remember this into English. It was amazing, this raw fish dinner at this very beautiful restaurant on Lake Garda, which Lake Garda has everything, by the way. You can do any water sport on Lake Garda. It's super close to beautiful art cities. It's super close to the mountains on the northern side. I mean, it's just a great place to go on vacation, and drink Lugana, of course, when you're there. But it's a really nice part of Italy that I feel like is kind of overlooked by American tourists. I mean, right now we can't travel, but one day we will be able to travel. And Lake Garda should definitely be on your registered. One thing I wanted to say about the Lugana producers is there are about 200 producers that make Lugana, but there's only, when I started working with Lugana 9 years ago, they made around 9 million bottles, and now they make around 23 million bottles. But that's it. That's the entire production of Lugana. So that's not so big. Think about under I work with makes 20 million bottles. Not of Lugana, another person I work with.
So what's exported to the States?
About 10% of that. About 10%. So not that much. Not that much.
So while we're talking about Lake Garda, it is Italy's largest lake, right? And it does play a major role in how Lugana is produced. So can you tell us a little bit of what that climate is like in the Lugana DOC, and how does it affect the vineyard and the fruit itself?
Yeah, of course. And let's talk about the soils too. So
Yes.
the climate of Lugana has a very mild climate because of the mitigating effects of the lake, right? So the lake absorbs cold in the winter and absorbs heat in the summer, right? So there's this very mild climate on Lake Garda, and in fact, they grow amazing. They make amazing olive oil in Lake Garda. It's so Mediterranean that there are beautiful olive trees all around, and it's very soft olive oil. It's beautiful if you ever get the chance to try olive oil from Lake Garda. So the climate is pretty mild there. Doesn't rain that much. It doesn't get that hot. The diurnal temperature changes are not very extreme. It's pretty constant weather, right? And so I'm on a webinar. Sorry. And sorry, family. And so that's the climate. So Lugana, the area, the soils is the result of the retreat of a glacier around 250,000 years ago in something called the Reese era. Lake Garda was a glacier, and the glacier retreated, and so the soils that surround Lake Garda and that make up Lake Garda have a lot of this organic material and this debris that comes from it's a moraine. So when a glacier retreats, all of those levels of organic materials that are left in the soil. So it's this very interesting soil that has a lot of different materials within it. It's sedimentary soil, but it in the winter, and it can get very dry, the soil in Lugana. And it can be very tough to work this soil. So producers have to work really hard to keep their vines going and to keep it healthy. They do not irrigate in Lugana. I think they're allowed to in extremis, but they don't really ever irrigate. But the soils are really tough. If you ever see a picture of the Lugana soils, it looks like they're hard as a rock, right? When they're dry. But when they're wet, they can become kind of muddy. So it's complicated. They're complicated soils. But some of the vines in Lugana are very old, like 60 years old, 80 years old. And so it's very, very interesting area. And it's mostly run by families. So there are not too many large concerns. There are some that just bottle grapes, but very few. Most are family-run farms.
Oh.
Wow. So we did you get your samples, Lori?
No, I think they're coming on Wednesday. I have a package that says arriving Wednesday, and I don't know what else it could be. So
sorry about that, Lori.
It's okay.
So about
I'm gonna say this. FedEx has some serious issues. And Susannah, it's not just you.
Well, what's strange is I took them at the same time to the town that I'm living in at the moment, dropped them off at the local place at the exact same time with the exact same instructions. I mean, 2 different houses, but to write you guys emails, to write me emails. I kept getting these emails, and I thought that actually they were from 2 different packages because I got so many emails, but they were all about Debbie's. And then when I started to open, like, oh, what happened to Lori's wine? And then hasn't even shown up on my FedEx. It just disappeared into the ether. I'm sorry about that.
So it's not your fault. And you know what? If anything, FedEx is having some real serious issues right now.
So this is one of the bottles that I sent.
Okay. So wait, I have I just grabbed this one.
Okay.
Yes. Great. Perfect. We're drinking 2 different. Good.
And I'll grab the other one because I think that's the one that you would just. I just don't have the space in my.
Yes, I had sent you a bottle of this Selva Capuzza wine also. Because I tried to send you each one of the same and then a different bottle.
One. Yep. Okay, so Susannah, can you hold your bottle up again and then tell us a little bit about that winery?
Yes. So this producer is called Selva Capuzza. Can you see the bottle?
I can see Selva.
Okay. Selva is the name of the wine, and the producer's name is Selva Capuzza.
Okay.
Capuzza means hill. So this producer, I believe you guys have met him, Luca Formentini. Did you ever meet him at the Wine Media Conference or in New York?
I might have met him in New York recently at the Slow Food Stone.
He wasn't. No, I don't know. Anyway, yes, at the Gambero Rosso. He was at Gambero Rosso. Were you at Gambero? Did you meet him at Gambero Rosso by chance?
I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there. Okay.
Yeah.
He used to be the president of the Lugana Consortium. The Consortium of Lugana, like consortium in so many different places, they kind of do the quality control of the wines, and they help producers and they promote the wines. And he was the president of the consortium. His family is on their 103rd vintage. Which
wow.
It's kind of exciting. Yeah. And he's a lovely guy. He runs the family winery now. And the winery has so much history behind it. We'll never get to talk about anything else if I keep going. So I love Luca. He's a really nice guy. He also is kind of an alternative musician. He likes to record the sound of silence walking around, and he plays strange instruments so he's just a really funky, fun guy. But he makes beautiful wines. And
it is beautiful. It's smooth. It's crisp. It's very nice.
Yeah, and they're very direct. His wines, I find, very minimal interventionist, right?
Mm. And now that's the basic level that you're drinking? That's a bottle of that 90% of most of the Lugana wines? Okay.
Yes. This is 2018, as I said. Sorry, I'm just enjoying the minerality. I'm just having that Lugana moment.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So
way to rub it in.
Sorry. So sorry. I will send you a separate bottle separately too. Mia culpa, mia grandissima colpa. Sorry about that. Anyway, I got spaced out. What were we saying?
I had asked, is that the bottle that you're drinking, is it the basic level, the 90%?
Yes.
What is Lugana?
This is the 90%. 90% is the vintage year. So most Lugana you'll find is the year that was just released. And it's usually 100% Turbiana. So this is a very typical Lugana in terms of the salinity that I feel, kind of the acidity. It's citrusy. I get apple, like so many Italian white wines. I get a little bit of almond on the finish, that little kind of bitter note on the finish that I like. I also find Lugana very floral. I get kind of white blossoms like acacia flowers. What about you, Debbie? What do you think?
I don't have I get the apple, the tree fruit and stuff. I not so much the floral.
And are you drinking? But you're drinking a different one, Debbie?
No, I'm drinking the Hold on.
You're drinking Conchiglia from Chittari.
This one.
You're drinking Conchiglia from Chittari.
Oh,
Yep.
no.
Yeah, and I get the minerality. That is beautiful.
Do you get a lot of that sort of sapidity, salinity? I don't know which word.
Yes, it just like it's
like salty,
marine
salinity,
and it's the salinity, and yes, I get that.
I love that,
It's beautiful. It's actually beautiful.
It makes me salivate, and it makes me want to eat something, right?
Right.
I find that with Lugana, you have a glass, and it's like, and then I want nuts, and then I want more, and then I want more, and then I want more.
I can see nuts. I can see nuts going with that. Like, yes.
Yeah, like because the great thing about Lugana is you can have Lugana as an aperitivo, so you can have it, having nuts or something at a table, just saying hi, chatting with friends. You can have Lugana with a first course. You can have Lugana with pizza. You can have Lugana with a second course. You can have a Lugana with dessert. You can kind of have Lugana all through your meal and different versions of Lugana or the same Lugana. I mean, I find
But this is
the same Lugana works really well
beautiful.
with different things. Isn't that beautiful?
It is just beautiful.
Yeah.
So Susannah, we
I don't know if I would have it with pizza. I don't think it would go with pizza, but it is beautiful. I would say scallops.
I could have it with
I
scallops.
can see it with scallops.
Remember, I have a kindergartner, so pizza's kind of a
Pizza
mainstay. You know?
Well, I think like if you have, I haven't tasted that one like right now, but I'm thinking like if you're in Italy and you're having like that margherita pizza,
Mm-hmm.
or you know where they have those huge chunks of fresh mozzarella on
Right.
top of right. I think it would go. I don't know about that one specifically, but I can see it going.
I guess my using pizza is just to say like it doesn't have to be a heavy fancy dish. It could be
Right.
something pizza. It could be a bruschetta. Do you make bruschetta
Oh,
at your restaurant?
yes. Mm.
You know, it could be any of those things.
I can see it with like a carbonara sauce because it's got a little bit of acidity.
It does has really nice acidity. No, I've never really had a Lugana with something that I can't think of anything that I wouldn't pair Lugana with. They're just really beautiful wines. They're really well made. They are long, you know, there's a lot
They're
of
clean and they're beautiful.
Yeah, I think they're surprisingly so. And they're relatively well priced. I mean, most of them are under $20. So that
You just have to be able to find it.
you have to be able to find them. The bigger problem is to find them. It's harder to find them than one would hope it would be.
So where would you find them? Like,
well,
I mean, I live in like the Twilight Zone, but
no, I understand what you mean.
People that live like in a major city that has a good liquor store.
Well, I know that like a wine.com or a Total Wine has a couple of Lugana producers. They don't have 20, but they have 2 or 3. There are some Lugana producers that have a longer history in America than others, so it's easier to find their wines, like Zenato, for example, or Camaiol. I always like to talk about the Camaiol story. Camaiol is an Italian producer that was bought by a huge Italian group, the Santa Margherita group, right? And Santa Margherita, as we know, makes Santa Cristina. So the most famous Pinot Grigio, right, in America is made by Santa Margherita. And the fact that they bought a company in Lugana showed to me how much they believe in Lugana as a white wine that can grow, right? And have a presence in America, because as we know, Pinot Grigio took over the United States in terms of Italian white wines years ago. So I always think that's really interesting. And another wine producer that's really pretty famous for other wines who bought a Lugana some years ago is Allegrini. You probably know her for her Amarone, her Valpolicella. She also has a winery in Lugana, as does Zenato. So one of the things about Lugana is it's in 2 different regions, so Lombardy and the Veneto. Well, most of the vineyards are in the Lombard side, but a lot of the producers' headquarters are in the Veneto side. Because of the way Lake Garda works, there's so many different denominations around Lake Garda. Like Amarone is near Lake Garda, not on Lake Garda. Then you have Valpolicella, which is near Lake Garda, but not on Lake Garda. Then you have Bardolino, which is on Lake Garda. And so a lot of these producers make wines in all these different denominations. So one of the ways to find a Lugana in America is, of course, to Google it and to look on bigwine.com or Drizzly or Total Wine, those big stores, and certainly smaller Italian-focused wine shops or people in the know will have a Lugana. And think about some of the producers that you know that are big names in the Veneto. They probably make a Lugana too. So that's another way to think about how to find a Lugana if you can't, or you can call me and I will help you find a Lugana in your location, through Drizzly or other things. But I would love there to be more Lugana. And in the 6 years that I have worked with them, it's such a bummer because of COVID, because right before COVID kind of hit the United States, I did a few shows for Lugana with slow wine around America. And there was so much interest in Lugana. I couldn't believe it. Just producer after producer, importer after importer came up to me asking to find a Lugana that was free to come into the US market. So it's a wine that people are much more aware of now. And there's a lot of interest in it. So I think Lugana has a beautiful future in the United States. It's just, slow building up because of different challenges, but not because of anything about the wine. The wine, I think, is just amazing. And so easy to pronounce. Lugana, right?
Lugana.
So
Lugana.
where is it distributed? East Coast, West Coast? Is it
both? East
easily,
Coast, some places within the center of the country. A little bit. It depends on where different producers find an importer, unless it's a big producer like Zenata who works with Winebow, and they're everywhere, right?
Okay.
So it depends on the producer and who their importer is and what the reach is of that particular importer.
So you were talking about how there's so much to do on Lake Garda and all of that stuff. So like they can wine taste during, the day, they can sail or stand up paddleboard, do all that stuff. But actually, how does somebody get to Lugana? Like, where would you recommend flying into?
Okay.
And then how do you
Sure.
travel to
Great
there?
question. So you can either fly into Verona, which is in the Veneto. You can fly into Verona. You could fly into Venice. You can fly into Milan. You can fly into Bergamo. And those are all different cities in northern Italy where you can fly into. The best way to travel around Lugana is, of course, to rent a car. Is absolutely the best way to get around anywhere in Italy, really, is to rent a car so that you can drive up. Lake Garda is beautiful, rising, falling hills to drive around. If you can't drive around, you can take a train from Milan or from Venice or from Verona. You could take an intercity train or a Eurostar train, and you can go to a town called Desenzano del Garda, which is one of the 5 communes in Lugana. So there's Desenzano, another town called Peschiera del Garda, are 2 big towns that have big train stations. So you could go to either of those places and then take a taxi from a train station to a wine producer, or call up the wine producer and ask them to come get you, and maybe they will.
Wow.
You're going to do a tour, or you could rent a bus, or get on a bus. Buses are a little more complicated. When I went to visit Luca, he was supposed to get me at the station, and something happened and he couldn't, so he sent a taxi to get me. And I told the driver where to take me, and he took me there. I went last summer with my son to the Veneto, and I took him to Gardaland, which is like the European Disneyland, and it's right in the Lugana region. So we didn't have a car, and we did everything by train, which you can do too. So those are different ways to do it. But anyone who feels comfortable driving stick, because it's of course much easier to rent a stick car than an automatic in Italy, I would rent a car to go. There are really great places to visit, and a lot of producers, including Luca, the producer Selva Capuzza, have agriturismi. So they have, a bed and breakfast of different dimensions or sizes or types. Luca is very kind of Spartan. He doesn't have television in his guest rooms, but there are others that are, different styles. There are some spas on Lake Garda too. So you can wine taste, go to a spa, go to Sirmione, see Catellas's villa, buy some olive oil. There's so much to do. And at night, if you go during the summer, you can go to the opera in Verona. So
Very nice.
In the Colosseum in Verona. So, there's just so much in the Arena, not the Colosseum, they call it the Arena. So there's really a lot to do in this area.
When somebody goes and let's say they want to plan a visit to Lugana, do they need, forget pandemic wise, but prior to that, did they need appointments, or is it more of like a walk-in? Like, is it kind of like here where you can go place to place, or is it further away, like one winery to another winery? Is it?
It's a little bit, it's not quite the same as if like you're in Napa and driving down and you stop at one after another, just because the wineries are smaller. Not everybody has the same size tasting room.
Okay.
So I would think a good thing to do would be to call ahead and find out, do I need a reservation? Do I not need a reservation? How far away are you from the train station or from this other winery? And probably the best thing to do would be to go to Lake Garda for a week and kind of organize maybe a wine tasting or two during the days that you're there, and other activities during the days that you're there too. Because of course they're more leisurely than we are. You know, it's not like let's power through. Although when I was there on a press trip, of course we did 2 million things in 3 days, but you know how press trips are, right?
Can we talk about the different styles of the wine that they produce? I mean, you know, we have dry, we have
We
sparkling, we have
did that before, right? The Reserva, the sparkling.
yeah.
Yes.
Can we talk about the different, you know?
Yes.
So when people go in and they, you know, they're looking at, you know, whether they're going to Lake Garda or they're seeing it in their wine shop, the
Right.
different styles.
Sure.
Does a winery focus on a specific style that you discussed earlier, or does a winery make multiple styles?
Well, most of the wineries make multiple styles, but not all of them. I mean,
Okay.
there are different producers. For example, the sparkling versions of Lugana. There are a couple of producers who are very focused on the sparkling version. There's a couple of producers who are really focused on organic viticulture and organic grapes and organic wines. So that's kind of, you know, more what they're doing. There's a producer that you both tasted wines from Marangona, who does a lot of different styles. So he does an organic wine. He does one that's aged in concrete. He does others that are aged in stainless steel. He does a late harvest. So there's a very kind of, for such a small area, there's sort of a lot of different things going on all at the same time. There's people who focus on sparkling. There's no one really that focuses on late harvest exclusively, because you can't really make money
On that,
just that. So a lot of people do all of the 5 styles, but not everybody. Not everybody does the 5 styles. And as I said, there's some organic viticulture and some interest in natural wine. I don't know if there are any biodynamically certified wineries at the moment, but there are ones who I think will be moving in that direction. There's kind of a younger generation of winemakers and owners now in Lugana. So, you know, a lot of people who are under 40 who are running their, you know, the wineries now.
Awesome.
And a lot of both women and men who are running the wineries. So that's really kind of interesting. And they seem like a pretty nice, cohesive group of producers to me. I think that one of the difficulties about Lugana that I always talk about and just mention is there are a lot of different bottle styles. So the bottle style it's not like in Austria where there's, you know, a flag on the cap and that says to you, this is an Austrian wine. So it's a little bit more confusing to see and find a Lugana just by sight. You have to maybe ask for it or look at the label or know the producer, you know, so that could be a complication. But on the other hand, it shows a lot of individuality among the different producers. And I think they're trying to show their own individual style with their own bottle shape.
And with that, what is the grape itself? You had mentioned that it's thick-skinned. So is it a late ripener? Is there anything like, is it mildew prone? Yeah, I'm guessing that there's probably a big difference between how those grapes are, the vine balance when it's closer to Lake Garda than as it moves further away. I'm guessing.
You mean the canopy, or do you mean the
Yeah,
trellis?
yeah. Sorry, vine balance. Sorry, canopy. Yes.
Yeah. No, that's okay. UC Davis girl. And I've a few books, so I know what you mean. But so is there a lot of canopy management? There's some canopy management. They have talked to me about some changes that have gone on because of climate change. And so, they need a little bit more leaf cover, right? And sometimes they've talked to me about doing green harvesting because, somebody might want more sunshine than they're getting. So there's kind of a lot of different things going on. They're very close to the lake, but there's a lot of wind from the lake, so that cleans a lot of the, potential parasites or disease. Whenever they talk about Lugana, they never talk to me that often about vine disease. It's not like there's one vine disease that's attacking, like Pierce's disease. There's not one vine disease that's really problematic for Lugana as a grape. I didn't mention this before, but Lugana is genetically identical to Verdicchio, right? The grape from Le Marche. Of course, it tastes a little bit different because of the terroir where it grows, right? But genetically, they've been going back and forth about this for decades now, but they've come out, the grape authorities have come out on the side that Verdicchio and Lugana are Turbiana are the same grape variety. They're biotypes of one another. And when you think about the way Verdicchio is, and how everyone says Verdicchio is one of the only Italian white wines that can age, I think it just also underlines that Lugana is a wine that can age as well. And that's one of the things I always like to talk about Lugana too, because Lugana is a grape wine that can age. So that's something to think about just in terms of Lugana. So if you find in a store a Lugana that's a little bit older, it doesn't mean that it's a closeout wine and it's not good. It's actually probably fantastic, right? Because the person who bought the wines may not know that Lugana is such a beautiful wine that ages. So did I answer your canopy question?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to get in that thing about the length of the age worthiness of Lugana, because it's something that I've been trying to show for a while. And it's
So there's a point there that you mentioned that in the liquor store, when you see a Lugana wine, the store might not realize what they have.
Right.
And
what they have, so buy it up.
And it's going to be great. It's going to be, it's going to be a good addition to whatever you're drinking.
Absolutely. Of course, everything depends on how things are stored, as you know better than I. So, I can't guarantee every bottle of Lugana how it's stored wherever it is, but Lugana really, as it ages.
You go into a liquor store and you're in the Italian wine section, and like for me, where I'm at right now, I'll go into the Italian wine section, and if I see something that's, I know it's good, I'm going to snag it.
Right.
But not everybody's going to realize, oh my God, Lugana. Oh my God, I got to grab that.
Right.
So, Susannah,
because it's good.
We have two questions from people who are watching. Karen was asking, you had mentioned that right by the lake, it's about 50 meters above sea level.
Yeah.
But as it goes away, she said that she was on Lake Garda last summer, but she was in Switzerland and the vines were extremely steep. What's it like on the other side, Right.
So that was a different lake though. Right? That's not Lake Garda. It's not in Switzerland. The lake that she's talking about is Lake Geneva, not Lake Garda. And I know just where she's talking about. She's talking about the vines by Montreux and Vevey, and it's just gloriously beautiful, but it's not the same lake. So Lake Garda is only in Italy. Lake Geneva is in Switzerland, right?
Yeah. So those are not steep in Lugana. It's not steep at all, correct?
She's talking about, because this is totally flat.
Okay.
This is totally flat. It's 50 meters. It's right by the lake.
Right.
I don't have a picture that I can just kind of blast up into the podcast.
You had said, I think you had said in one of the presentations that was
Right.
like it only goes up to like 1,000, right? Like
No, it only goes up to 130 meters.
Oh, 130. Oh,
Yeah,
what is? Oh, I can't do the transfer. Right, 130.
It's
Okay.
it's only 130 meters, so it's not very high. Not
Okay.
very high. It's
So
nothing.
Michael wants to know how long that it can age.
How long can it age? Well, I've had Lugana that's 10 years old, but right now the Lugana Consortium is celebrating its 30th anniversary, and they're doing tomorrow, actually. I wish I were in Italy to do this.
Oh.
They're doing tastings of Lugana back to 1995.
Wow.
So,
Oh, wow.
isn't that exciting? So that's a 25-year-old Lugana. The thing about Lugana is that since they don't make that much Lugana, for years they were just very focused on this 90% of the wine, which is the vintage year that they were trying to sell through. So people didn't necessarily put aside some of the wine to, make it into the library, to hold it back, to see how it would be, until it could age. But now that people understand how wonderful Lugana is, they realize what they have. And some people did hold back, some bottles of wine, but they don't have so many. I was just talking to the Consortio director today saying, like, I wish I was at that tasting. And he said, I don't have bottles. Otherwise I could send them to you, but I don't have them. So that's kind of exciting. So to answer Michael's specific question, so tomorrow they're going to do some tastings of Lugana that's 25 years old. I don't think you're going to find Lugana that's 25 years old in the United States, but I definitely think that Lugana, a 10-year-old Lugana, would be fantastic.
That's awesome. 25 years. I would love to be at that tasting.
Oh my God, me too. I want to be a fly on the wall, just hear what they have to say,
Just to see the differences on the different years.
Absolutely. I mean, I think.
And I'm curious, is the coloring, the aging?
Yeah.
Color has it aged? I haven't ever really seen. Actually, that's not true. So I had a bottle of a wine that was a 2014, a little while ago, and it had oxidized a little bit, but it was fantastic. It was delicious, even though it did have a little bit of that kind of golden color. It depends on your palate and what you. I mean, I like sherry. I like sherry. I like some of that. I like Old Viura, from Spanish wine that has some of that. So it's a little bit, it depends on what you actually, on your own specific palate. But most Lugana does not become oxidized. It's, this beautiful, lemon, yellow, gold, color that you'll see.
Now, Suzanne, you talked about the one wine that you had, but I want to hear about the other winery you had two. Do you have two?
I don't have two, but Debbie has another one.
I have two.
It's Chitari is the other winery that she has.
Okay.
And Chitari is a winery. So there are some areas are closer to the lake, and Chitari is one of them. It's closer to the Turbiana. So they're a winery that it gets more breezes from the lake. Selva Capuzza is a winery that is a little bit a little interior, so closer to 130 meters, whereas Chitari is closer to 50 meters. And I wanted to show the differences between the two of them. So there's kind of a little more minerality in the wines that are farther away from the lake. And they say this is a word that they use in Italian. They say it's like lacustre. So it means like sort of from the ones that are from near to the lake have something that they find it has more salinity. So a little more.
This does have more salinity.
It does. Closer to the lake and a little more minerality in the others.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of sand in the wines that are in a little bit farther away from the lake. In the soil, sorry, not in the wine. And there's a little more sand. Yeah, sorry. No sand in the wine. No sand in the wine. There's a little more sand in the soil. So a little farther away from the lake.
This is a little bit more vibrant than this one.
It's a little more vibrant. Yeah.
Yeah.
So There are also kind of cru areas in Lugana historically. There are two of them, San Benedetto and another one called Rovizza, and they are closer to the lake. And I believe Citari is there. I love the wines from Citari. I found them to be really amazing. Are you tasting one that's called Conchiglia with a C? C-O-N?
Yeah, CON.
So Conchiglia means shell.
CHILIA.
Yeah. So
Shell.
Conchiglia means shells. So there, there's a lot of marine
You can
fossils
taste that.
in the lake.
Yeah, you can taste the shells
Pears.
that were deposited, and
Limestone,
Yes.
calcareous soil.
Yes.
So yeah, I see why that could be, a little more vibrant and beautiful. But I wanted you to see kind of tiny little differences that you'll see from different Lugana. It's
Yes.
like, somebody could have a collection of Lugana from different areas around the lake, because there are different areas around the lake.
I
So
will
there-
say that the
Microclimate.
Lugana wines, from what
Sorry?
I've tasted, I will
Yes.
say that the wines that I've tasted from the region,
yeah,
they're outstanding, and you can't go wrong, regardless of where you taste it, where the grapes are harvested from, whether it's still wine or sparkling. It's phenomenal.
So
Yeah.
Susannah, Phil,
And good price point as well.
yes,
uh,
Larry.
Philip has a question. He
Sure.
wants to know what's your favorite, do you have a favorite producer or why? And I'm going to say that's probably like asking Susannah her favorite child type question.
Exactly. I'm going to
Because
say no. Even if I did, I couldn't tell you. It would be impolitic of me. I actually really like all the producers that I know personally. I've tasted loads of Lugana, and I love it. And I recently did a little video for their 30th anniversary, and I practically started to cry about how much I love Lugana, and the communications person at the consortium was like, "You had tears in your eyes," and it's true. I just really love Lugana. It's just one of those wines that really just makes me happy, and every time I open a bottle, I'm happy to drink it. I find the stories really great, and I love sharing Lugana with my friends. So I think you really can't go wrong. I've never had a Lugana that I didn't like. Sure, there are differences
share-
between the producers.
Right. To share a little bit, Philip, I was in New York City, and Susannah was nice enough to invite me to the dinner at the Mexican restaurant. And the first wine she opened up, she was so bubbly and so happy about and talking. And then the next one, I was like, oh, she's really likes this producer. And then the next one, she was like, oh, okay, so now here we go. Blah, blah, blah. And she was equally, I think we had 6 wines that night.
We did.
And
yep.
Each one she was equally ecstatic about. And I was like, oh yeah, come on. And then I would taste it and I would be, oh my God, yes, I am as equal. Like each wine is better than the next, but then if you switched them around, that one would be better than that one. Like the wines are very, I keep going back to complex because I just didn't expect that. That was the first thing that kind of threw me for a good loop when we first tasted, was on your palate, the flavors, the length of the finish is there, and
They're versatile. Very versatile.
Yes. So I knew Suzanne was not going to be able to answer that question.
I love
But they're very versatile, and they pair with many different
Everything. Yes.
different foods.
So we are approaching the hour, which is usually what we try to cut down to, so that we don't keep you too long. But one of the things
we could sit here for hours and talk.
As could I, but I've got to put my kid to bed. Otherwise,
But
I would definitely stay here and talk with you for hours about Lugana. But you can have me back. We can do, when you get back to A, we can talk about Lugana starting with the last letter of the alphabet. Do you do that?
there you go. Oh, that would be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
What do you do when you get to the end of the alphabet? Do you start
We
over?
just started a second season. We took a month off and started a second season.
That's
So,
exciting.
yeah. But one of the things we do, we did talk about food pairings and we did talk about the wineries. But one of the last things we always do is if you were going to walk away from this presentation and you wanted these people who are listening to the podcast or watching it live or on YouTube, can you give us 3 fast facts? Like, what are 3 things that you want people to remember about Lugana?
Great. Okay, it's a white wine from Lake Garda made with the Turbiana grape.
1.
That's one.
Or are you gonna? Oh, okay. We can count that as 2. Okay.
3 things, but I could. Okay, so it's a white
Oh,
wine made with the
Sorry.
Turbiana, right? Those are 3 things. Then it's very versatile. It's a wine that can age, and it comes in 5 styles. So that's 2. And then there are 200 producers. They make 23 million bottles. And it comes from 2 different regions in Italy. So Lombardy and the Veneto. So it's an interregional DOC.
I love
Those
that.
are 9 things.
I do.
Those, yes. I'm sorry. I was like, all right, that first one was 1. Sorry.
No. There are 9
So,
things in groups of 3. Because
yes.
as you can see, I really love this wine region, and I could talk about it.
The wines are beautiful. I mean, the 2 wines here that I have, and I know, Lori will be getting hers soon, but I know
Really
you
good.
can't see them, but they are just stellar. They really are. And
I just want to say for Debbie and myself, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to us about Lugana. Beautiful grape, beautiful region that one of these days I'm going to get to see live. And I appreciate.
we're going to go together.
Yep. All good.
Fun. I'll be there. We'll all go do fun things there together. Yeah. I really appreciate this opportunity. I think it's really great to be able to talk to your listeners and share my love of Lugana with them and with you. And happy birthday, Debbie.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tomorrow is Debbie's birthday. So
Debbie's birthday. So this has been really fun to spend this time together. I miss you guys. I'm used to seeing you.
I miss you guys too. I big hugs.
Big hugs to
Big
both
hugs.
of you, and be well, and
talk
thank
soon.
you.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye.
Kick me off because I don't know that I know how to get off. So
Don't worry, I'll get you off.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.